Good morning, everybody. This is Judith A. Cope. You're listening to Mad Love. Let's get into it. I am having some sort of allergy attack. That's always fun. Super congested. Thank you. So I'll be keeping this pretty short. But the more I keep reading about Rob Reiner and his son, I'm telling you, if you have been in a family with a mentally ill person, and I believe there's some mental illness that's underneath the drug use. I could be wrong. I don't know these people. Um, it also could be drug-induced psychosis, but a lot of times people turn to drugs to self-medicate. There's something going on in their brains that they understand, and they start to turn to drugs to self-medicate. And I'll be honest with you, I don't come from a super wealthy family, uh, but I do know what it feels like to have a person in your family who struggles with mental illness. Uh, if that was the case, you know, and I'm excuse me, I'm guessing there's some similarities between having a mentally ill person and a drug addicted person in your family. Although I I really think most people turn to drugs because of mental illness, but I could be wrong, so I'm just speculating here. But I do know what it feels like to have a sibling like that, and it affects your whole family. And you watch your parents struggle and try to decide what to do, and they feel bad because they want to help. Um, and usually, a person with a mental illness, they don't want to stay on that medication because, in their minds, on the medicine, they feel unwell. But in reality, when we're from the outside looking in, they seem more normal on the drugs. However, they feel like they're not themselves on the drugs. So they would rather not be taking medicine. So I don't know what his Nick Reiner's issues were. I'm sure they were extensive. I'm sure they were elaborate. The first picture that they're showing of him, that's from like 15 years ago or 11 years ago. It's like from it's like 2013. He doesn't look like that anymore. And when you see him now with that weight gain, it makes me think that he was on mental medication, because the number one side effect of mental meds is weight gain. I don't know why, but it really puts on the weight. You can tell when Kanye was taking his medication, he gained a ton of weight. My brother gained a ton of weight. They gain weight. Um, but like I said, when you have a mentally ill person in your family, your whole family has it. And the stress that it must have caused his parents, I'm sure we could never calculate. We could never know. And their devotion to him it sounds like it was just a beautiful thing. And it sounds like even though he murdered them, they wouldn't stop supporting him even if they had survived. And I don't know what the answers are. I have a lot of opinions on a lot of things, but I don't know what the answer is, because it is stressful and it is sad and it is scary at times. This person is uncontrollable. You don't know what to do with them. You don't know how to help them. Everything you do seems to hurt them. I mean, it is not a small thing. And, I think he had been living with them. It's just really sad. And I think the saddest thing is there's no amount of money that can fix this. There's no amount of treatment or care. It's just one of those things. And think about the average family who has a mentally ill person or a drug addict person in their family, and they can't afford all the best treatments and all the facilities. And, like, what do you do with this? How do you fix it? How do you make life better for this person? And they seem self-destructive. So it's not like you can stop them, because at some point they have their own agency. When they're over 18, they can check themselves in and out of these places. It's really a tragic story. And I hope it helps other people to realize, like, yeah, rich families, it doesn't matter who you are, old, young, black, white, rich, poor. If this is in your family, it's a lot of work and it's stressful and it's scary. And I feel bad for the other kids. I mean, they had both of their parents and now they lost both of their parents. It's really a bummer. So, which I know is not clinical talk, but it is. It's just sad. And America is one of those places where it's an embarrassment of riches until it's not. You know, there's a lot of resources and stuff available for things, but certain things, there's nothing. You know, like there's no help. You're not going to get any help. It's not like a counselor comes home with you and it's like, yeah, I'm going to live here and help raise your kid, or, you know, put guardrails around your kid. There's just so little that you can actually do. And then, you know, they've closed down most of the public mental hospitals. Right now, the only way you can get some real help, and I hate to say this, the only way you get real help is when the person commits a felony like this. Now he's going to be in a mental prison, a mental health prison for the rest of his life. He's done double homicide. Now, should he have been locked up before? Probably. Do people like calling it locked up? No. Do people like saying, oh, he's in a mental medical prison? You know, hey, I get it. I get that you don't like the verbiage, but there's not a lot of help in between the guy standing in front of the 7-Eleven on drugs, nodding off and waking up screaming, to the hospital, to like a crime. That's it. There's very little you can do. You can't put them in a facility anymore. There aren't any public health. There's no Department of Mental Health or Public Health anymore. So where do you put these people? And we know they need help. And America's answer has just been to ignore it until they commit a felony. You know, that's like the guy in my stairwell. He's clearly, I think he's bipolar, schizophrenic, and does drugs to cover that. And then he robs and steals to pay for his weed. And then, you know, until he did actually escalate. He broke into our apartment and just sort of hung out in the stairwell. But after he got out, he was locked up for a long time because he kept failing the mental health tests. They finally let him out because he was being held on a misdemeanor. He gets out and he gets in a parking garage of another apartment building with no pants on. He's standing there and a man walks up like, hey, buddy, you don't live here. And then he threw a turd at the man and hit him in the face, which is a felony. Yeah, it's not murder, but that is an assault. So, and God, do you want homeless, schizophrenic man poop on your face? You don't know what's in that. What if that got in your eye? So, I mean, this is just pointing to a bigger crisis that we have in this country, and then you can't ignore it away. And I hope people don't ignore it away. We need more resources. And so what I'm saying to you is when we start building these communities that we have to live in because things are collapsing, there's got to be space for people who need that kind of care. And, you know, you got to figure out ways to get them to take their medicine, to get them to want to be a part of a community. Because I think mental illness has probably increased over the years, especially as the population has gone up. And, you know, like I said, he could have given himself mental illness with the drugs, but chances are he was masking something with drugs. And if you look at his picture, the original picture they're putting up of him, there's no way that person, look at him now, get a look at him from 2025. He's about 70 pounds heavier. He shaved his head. He looks darker. And even the video footage from 2013, he seems kind of disaffected. I would say there was some kind of distance in his eyes, and like he had some weird social awkwardness. I'm telling you, I think this is another thing that America is going to have to grapple with that they don't want to, which is mental illness, mental health. There was some girl on TikTok who killed herself on her TikTok live stream due to some extreme bullying by other TikTokers. And that sounds silly, but it really happened. I mean, and some of these people have like 1 million followers, and they're up here bullying folks. That means, and I've actually had people harass me on TikTok. They don't like when I get political, and TikTok is so messy. They always put that post up, and then you get these crazies. I made a post saying I didn't think Kamala Harris was a great candidate. People flamed me. There was threats. It was all kind. It was just insane. And then I put up one recently saying we should boycott Christmas, which I said here, which is if you really want to make a change in the economy, don't just boycott one day. You got to boycott something big like Christmas season shopping. Don't shop until January. Man, them people on there, they were ripping me a new one. And I left it up there and I was like, look at TikTok pushing this. So in a way, when you get bullied on TikTok, TikTok is very much a part of it. They will elevate those posts so everybody can see it. So if you're a victim of cyberbullying, yeah, it gets magnetized by TikTok. It's like, dude, if you're not mentally strong, stay off of your phone. It's just not worth it. If you don't have a good idea who you are, don't get on ChatGPT. Don't get on TikTok. Don't be on Instagram. Don't be anywhere. Just figure out who you are first, because if you don't, the universe loves a vacuum. And if you have this hole in who you are and what your personality is, the universe will fill it for you. And sometimes they fill it with hate, and we need so much less of that. If you have a loved one in your family or someone you care about who you know is mentally ill, has a mental health crisis, is struggling, please get on your computer. In this case, it's sanctioned. Get on Google and find them some help, because it's not going to go away. It never just goes away. It only gets worse. So you can't just ignore it. Rest in peace to the Reiners again. I'm so sad. Rob Reiner was one of my favorite directors, but I'm very happy he had a long and fulfilling life. It just would have been nice if he could have died of natural causes. I'm very much against people getting murdered. Please take care of yourselves. And yes, please, God, deliver us from evil.